All right, ready to dive deep into the world of police inspectors? We've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher, career guides, interview guides. We're going to use those to help you totally crush that interview.
I know, it's amazing how much these guides actually tell you not just about what the job is, but like what they're looking for, the hiring managers.
Exactly. So we're not just giving you the basics here. You're going to get real strategies to nail those tough interview questions. And even how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a boost for practice and really tailoring those answers.
Yeah, it's like a secret weapon, especially in a competitive field like law enforcement.
Okay, so first, let's get a clear picture of what a police inspector does. We'll use that RoleCatcher career guide to guide us.
Think of it like you're the conductor of an orchestra, but instead of musicians, you're leading a team of officers. You're setting the tempo, making sure everyone's in sync, and you're responsible for the performance.
So it's not all chasing down criminals like we see in the movies.
Well, there's definitely some of that excitement and unpredictability, but being a police inspector is much broader. You're responsible for everything, from resource allocation to performance management, making sure everyone's following the laws and regulations.
That sounds like a lot of responsibility. What kind of person thrives in this role?
You need someone who's a natural leader, strategic thinker, and a great communicator. They have to be able to motivate their team, make tough decisions under pressure, and build strong relationships with their officers and the community.
Okay, so we've got a sense of the role. Now let's fast forward to the interview. You want to walk in confident, ready for anything they throw at you.
That's where RoleCatcher's interview guide is really helpful. They've got a whole list of common questions, and they even give you insight into what the hiring managers are looking for in those answers.
Perfect. Let's tackle a few of those. How about this one? What motivated you to become a police inspector?
This is your chance to show your passion. Go beyond just saying, I want to help people. Share a specific experience or a moment that made you want to go into law enforcement, especially in a leadership role.
Yeah, you could talk about seeing an officer go above and beyond to help someone. Or maybe you were inspired by a family member in law enforcement.
Exactly. It's about connecting your own story to your goals. And be ready for a follow-up like, how do your values align with the police department's?
That's a good point. They're looking for someone who's a good fit, not just qualified.
Absolutely. They want to see that you're committed to integrity, community service, and upholding the law.
Okay, so you've shared your story. Now they hit you with, what are the most important qualities of a successful police inspector?
This one's all about showing you understand the demands of the role. Think about the core skills: leadership, communication, problem solving, adaptability, but don't just list them. Explain why they're crucial for this specific role.
So instead of communication is important, you could say, effective communication is key for building trust with the community, motivating my team, and de-escalating tense situations.
Exactly. Now, they might follow up with, can you give me an example of a time you showed one of these qualities in a challenging situation?
That's where those real-life examples are gold. Show, don't tell.
Right. Now, let's get to a tougher one. How do you approach conflict resolution in a high-pressure situation?
This feels like they're really trying to gauge your composure, your judgment.
Absolutely. They want to know you can stay calm, make rational decisions, and de-escalate things effectively.
So what are the key points to hit here?
Talk about active listening, empathy, finding common ground. Emphasize that you can assess the situation, find the root cause, and get to a fair resolution.
And again, a real-life example of how you've handled conflict would be super impactful.
Definitely. And they might even ask, what did you learn from that experience, and how would you apply those lessons as a police inspector?
They really want to understand your decision-making, how you learn and grow.
Exactly. Now, this next question is all about accountability and making tough choices. Can you describe a time you had to make a difficult decision that had significant consequences?
Wow, that one sounds heavy.
It is, but it's also your chance to show you can weigh options, assess risks, and make a tough call, even when it's not popular. Pick an example where you can really explain your thought process, what you considered.
Walk them through your reasoning, any ethical considerations, and the outcome. Did you get guidance from superiors or consult policies?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to talk about what you learned, even if it wasn't perfect. Showing self-awareness and that you're willing to learn from mistakes, that's strong leadership.
Now, how does RoleCatcher's AI come in when you're preparing for these tough questions?
It's actually pretty cool. RoleCatcher's AI analyzes your practice responses and gives you feedback tailored to the specific job you're going for. It's like having a coach in your pocket.
So it's not just checking your grammar, it's actually looking at the content, how effective your answer is.
Exactly. It might suggest adding keywords from the job description, highlighting certain experiences, or even restructuring your answer for better flow.
That's incredible. It's like having a mentor who knows exactly what those hiring managers want.
Precisely.
We've just scratched the surface of these interview questions, but it's amazing how that AI from RoleCatcher can really help you fine-tune your prep.
Yeah, like a personalized feedback loop to get your answers just right, tailored for the specific job.
Can you give us an example of how that actually works?
Let's say you're practicing, how do you ensure your team is meeting expectations? You record your answer, and the AI looks at it, how clear it is, if it's concise, and if it's relevant to what the job description says.
So it's not just grammar and vocabulary, it's the content itself if it's hitting the mark.
Exactly. It might say, hey, add some keywords from the job posting, or highlight that experience from your past, maybe even restructure the whole thing for better flow.
Wow, that's really smart. It's like having a virtual mentor who knows exactly what they want to hear.
Precisely. And you can practice as many times as you need until you feel totally ready.
Okay, back to the hot seat. They ask, how do you stay up to date on the latest laws and regulations? I mean, things are constantly changing.
Absolutely. This is where you show that you're committed to learning, always. Mention things like training sessions, legal publications, professional associations you follow, shows you're proactive and always improving.
What if they follow up with, give me a recent example of a new law or regulation you had to learn and how you incorporate it into your work?
Right, they want to see you're not just reading about it, but using that knowledge in real situations.
Okay, you've shown them you're a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Now they ask, how do you handle conflicts within a team or between team members? This gets into your leadership style.
Absolutely. This is about showing you can create a positive team environment. Talk about open communication, listening, building respect, and collaboration.
And having a specific example of how you've managed team dynamics, that would be powerful.
Definitely. And they might ask, how do you give feedback, both the good kind and constructive? They want to know you can motivate and develop your team.
Okay, now performance management. How do you make sure your team is meeting expectations?
This is where you explain how you set clear goals, give regular feedback, and support your team members so they can achieve those goals.
It's not just being the boss, it's being a coach, a mentor.
Right. And they might ask, how do you handle underperformance? Looking for that balance of firmness and, being understanding.
This next one is big in law enforcement. How do you ensure your team is following ethical guidelines and standards? I mean, integrity is everything in this field.
Yeah, super important. Emphasize leading by example, having clear ethical guidelines, and holding everyone accountable.
You could even mention specific training programs you use to reinforce that ethical conduct.
Great point. A possible follow-up. Describe a situation where you had to address an ethical violation and how you dealt with it. They want to know you'll take action when needed.
Okay, now for a tricky one. How do you handle situations where you need to make a decision that goes against your personal values? This is about ethics and integrity at a personal level.
You're right, it's tough. You have to show you can uphold the law, your professional duty, even when it's a moral dilemma.
How do you even begin to answer something like that?
Acknowledge it's complex and say that finding a balance between your beliefs and your duty to the law is key. You could mention seeking guidance from superiors, looking at ethical guidelines, and thinking through the consequences of your actions.
And they might say, give me a hypothetical example on how you'd approach it. Really testing your critical thinking and ethical decision-making skills under pressure.
Exactly. Before we move on, remember RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful for these behavioral questions. It looks at how you're telling the story, if you need more detail, even how to tailor it to the specific values of the department.
Oh, that's right. It's not just for those technical questions.
Yeah.
It can help you make those stories really impactful.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about community. You'll be serving them. How would you build relationships with the community as a police inspector?
This is about community policing, right?
Yeah.
Showing you understand how important it is to build that trust.
Right. Talk about collaboration, open communication, transparency. Be visible in the community, go to events, actively seek feedback.
Be ready for follow-ups, like what specific things would you do to improve police-community relations? Or how would you address concerns about bias or misconduct?
They want someone who takes initiative, is thoughtful, and committed to building those bridges.
Okay, let's talk tech. It's changing everything, including law enforcement.
Yeah.
How do you see technology impacting the role of a police inspector in the future?
This is your chance to be forward-thinking. Talk about AI for crime analysis, predictive policing, body cameras, all those new technologies.
But it's not just listing them, right? It's about how you'd use them to be more efficient, effective, transparent.
Exactly. And be ready for those ethical questions, too. What are the concerns about using these technologies? Or how do you make sure they don't violate people's rights?
They want to see you understand both the good and the bad of bringing tech into law enforcement.
Right. Now, about leadership style. How would you describe your leadership style? Sounds simple, but it can be tricky.
Yeah, there's no one right answer. You have to be genuine, describe your approach.
Exactly. Think about, are you collaborative, directive? Do you empower your team or give them clear instructions? And have examples of how you've actually led in the past.
And be ready for follow-ups like, what challenges have you faced as a leader and how did you overcome them? Or
Yeah.
how do you motivate and inspire your team?
They want someone who's self-aware, reflects on their experiences, and is passionate about developing their team.
Okay, let's talk professional development. They'll want to know you're always learning. What are your professional goals for the next few years?
Here's where you show your ambition. Talk about skills you want to learn, certifications, leadership programs.
But tie those goals to the police inspector role. Show you want to grow to help the department.
Exactly. They might ask, how do you stay informed about new things happening in law enforcement? They want to see you're proactive, involved in your development.
Now, this comes up a lot in law enforcement. How do you handle stress and pressure? This job is tough, emotionally demanding. They want to know you have healthy ways to cope.
Right. Talk about specific strategies you use, like exercise, meditation, spending time with loved ones, hobbies. Emphasize work-life balance and getting support when you need it.
Be ready for, tell me about a time you dealt with a really stressful situation and how you managed. Or, what are the signs you're overwhelmed and what do you do?
They want to see you're self-aware, resilient, that you can handle the job without burning out.
Okay, we've covered a lot on interviews, but let's go back to that CV resume tool from RoleCatcher. Getting that initial attention is crucial.
Oh yeah, that's where it all starts. You got to make sure your CV resume is tailored for the job, shows off your best skills and what you've done.
Tell me more about how RoleCatcher's tool works.
So you upload it, and their AI analyzes it against the job description. It picks out the keywords, skills, experiences that are most important for that role.
So it's not just about typos and formatting, it's actually looking at the content, making suggestions to make it stand out.
Exactly. It might suggest adding certain keywords, changing how you phrase things, maybe highlighting certain parts more.
Wow, that's amazing. Like having a professional resume writer working on it behind the scenes.
Exactly, and it happens so fast, saves you so much time.
I'm seeing how powerful RoleCatcher's AI is. It's like a one-stop shop for job searching, from that CV resume to nailing those interview questions.
It really is. It's about giving you the tools you need to make good decisions, present yourself well, and get that dream job.
Speaking of dream jobs, let's talk career paths for aspiring police inspectors. What did you find in RoleCatcher's career guide?
One key thing, climbing the ranks takes time and dedication. You usually start as a patrol officer, then work your way up, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, then inspector.
It's a journey that requires patience, persistence, and a commitment to always be learning.
Exactly. And the specific path might be different depending on the department and your own goals.
Makes sense. What does RoleCatcher suggest for accelerating your career?
They say, get specialized certifications like crime prevention, leadership, community policing. It shows you're serious about growing and have a deep understanding of those areas.
And that sets you apart when you're going for promotions or those specialized roles.
Exactly. Build a strong network, too. Go to conferences, join associations, connect with other professionals. They can give you insights, mentorship, maybe even job leads.
It's all about building relationships, learning from those who've been there.
Right. And find a mentor, someone who's already a police inspector. They can give you hands-on experience, guidance, and really show you how things work.
Like having a personal guide to help you navigate those challenges and opportunities.
Exactly. That RoleCatcher Career Guide is really helpful for anyone thinking about law enforcement. It has details on different roles, career paths, salaries, even tips for finding jobs and applying.
Great place to start if you want to see what's possible in this field, which is both challenging and rewarding.
Absolutely. Now, let's think about the future. The world is changing fast, and that affects the role of a police inspector. How does RoleCatcher address this?
That's a great question. Their career guide talks about how important technology is becoming and what skills future inspectors will need.
Yeah, they talk about AI for crime analysis, predictive policing, body cameras, all the latest stuff, changing how things are done.
But it's not just about using the tech, it's about the ethics too, making sure it's used responsibly.
Exactly. They talk about data privacy, transparency, accountability. Inspectors need to be tech savvy and adapt to these rapid changes.
So being a police inspector is getting more complex, more demanding, but also more exciting.
It is. Those who embrace the challenge and these new opportunities for innovation, they'll be the ones shaping the future.
For those listening who are inspired, what advice would you give them?
Number one, be ready to learn and adapt constantly. The world doesn't stop changing, and neither does law enforcement.
Great advice. Anything else?
Embrace technology. Don't be afraid of new tools and ways of doing things. Learn to use data. See what AI can do. Be open to new ideas about policing.
Sounds like you're describing a leader who's not just knowledgeable, but forward-thinking, innovative.
Exactly. And remember, this is about people.
Yeah, at its core, it's about service, protection, building trust, making a positive impact.
You got it. So when you're prepping for those interviews, developing your career, keep that in mind. Let your passion shine through.
That's a great takeaway. It's not just the job, it's the purpose behind it.
Absolutely. Now, I think we've covered pretty much everything about becoming a police inspector, at least for now.
We've definitely given our listeners a lot to think about.
We have. But remember, this is just the beginning. Becoming a successful leader in law enforcement is a marathon, not a sprint.
Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop aiming for excellence.
Well said. And if you need help along the way, remember, RoleCatcher is there with all those resources.
Great reminder. Check out their website, their career guides, interview prep tools, and see how that AI can give you a real advantage.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep.
You know, we've covered a lot today, from how to nail those interview questions to the big changes happening in law enforcement. But before we finish up, I want to touch on something that's really stuck with me, that human side of this job.
It's easy to get caught up in all the details, the skills, the strategies, but really a police inspector's work is about people. Leading and inspiring officers, building trust in the community, making a difference in people's lives.
It's more than a job, it's a calling, right?
Exactly. And I think that's what draws so many people to this field, that sense of purpose.
Let's talk about that purpose, the legacy a police inspector leaves behind. What kind of impact can they have on their department, on the community?
A really great police inspector can change a department for the better. They create a culture of integrity, professionalism, everyone's accountable. They help their officers be their best, and they connect with the community so everyone's working together for safety.
It's about leaving things better than you found them.
Exactly. That's something to aim for.
So for all those aspiring police inspectors out there, what's the one piece of advice we want them to remember?
Believe in yourself. Believe you can make a difference. You can lead, inspire, and make real change.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher is there to help every step of the way with all those resources and their AI tools.
Absolutely. Go check out their website, see the career guides, the interview prep tools, and how that AI can give you an edge.
That's a wrap for our deep dive into the world of police inspectors. It's been an amazing journey, full of insight, strategies, and inspiration.
Thanks for having me. It's been great sharing my knowledge and experience.
And everyone listening, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep into the topics that matter to you. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.